What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar with C-Zar Gets Crypto, and we are talking about Jesus Coin yet again today. We're up 15.42% as of right now. Lovely to see. But we've been here the past couple days. We could pull back. It's happened before, so it could happen again today. Though I do think that we are done going lower. I do think that we'll continue to go up. I've got some bad news. I've got some good news, and I've got some potentially really good news, really like bullishly skyrocketing good news. As far as like price action goes, I'm more of a technical analyst, right? I don't do fundamentals so much. So without any further ado, let's actually get into this. Actually, with one more ado, shout out to Dr. Crypto or Crypto Doctor and official Lee Calafia. You guys were telling me that this wallet is not a independent wallet. It is an LP. It's a liquidity pool. It's the Uniswap V2 wallet. So anytime anybody buys tokens on Uniswap, Jesus Coin tokens, or sells them, that's what influences this growth and decay in this wallet here. So that makes sense, And I just want to apologize if I've misled anybody into thinking that this was an independent wallet. Obviously it's independent of all these wallets, but really it's the LP for Uniswap. So in a certain sense, I was thinking of this before as like a whale who whenever he would buy, he'd be buying the lows. This would go up, right? But really what's going on is as this goes up on the lows, that means people are selling the lows. And I've noticed that, man, that this thing tends to go up on the lows. So people are probably trading this thing, and not a lot of people. But there's a lot less people holding it now, right, by this metric. And correct me if I'm wrong again, guys. But there's a lot less people holding it now than there has been in a while, because it generally was below, it was around like 3.5 or like 3.9 or lower, right? I think at one point it even went to 3.2, but now it's at 4.2. So there's definitely, relatively speaking, a decent amount of tokens that are on the open market. But without any more of that, I just wanted to say, make some clarifications. And without any more of that, let's actually start with the not so good news. It's not detrimentally bad news. It's just maybe not what you want to hear, because I think everybody, myself included, wants to hear this thing's going to do a 100% growth tomorrow. We all want to hear that. But I want to compare this right now, because we are in a move up and then consolidated, a move up and then a consolidation, and then a move up, and we are consolidating, right? We're in one of these consolidation phases, and it's a lot more easy to see that in the RSI, because previously we had a double bottom here on the 50, another double bottom here on the 50, and as of right now it's looking like we want to break above this 50. We're trying to get back above it, but are we doomed or destined to find another low on this 50 area as we have previously? I think it's possible, and I want to just kind of go over that and what that could mean for the price over the next week or so, probably a little bit less than a week. But if we take this into consideration, the day that we got out of the 50, which we were under the 50 here, but we were over it on this day here, bullish engulfing candle. That day there to the day that we got back into the 50, right? That would have been, I guess, to the day that we found our low. Let's do that. That would have been 8 days, okay? 8 days. Back again over here, we were below the 50, and then the next day here, we were above the 50. From here to the low afterwards, that was 5 days. Okay, so 8 days, 5 days. Right now, today, because yesterday we were still below the 50. With yesterday's close, we were still below the 50. Today, closing here or higher, we will be above the 50. Could we be moving more or less sideways, right, as we did here, with a slight drop that ultimately is a higher low from this previous 50, a higher low from the previous 50? Could we be doing something like that over the next 5 to 8 days? Well, 5 days from now would be December 21st. 8 days from now would be Christmas Eve, okay? And I feel like that's cutting it close, and that's why I'm saying it's not necessarily the best news, because I genuinely would expect, without looking at this, I would expect that sometime next week we're going to see this thing break out to the upside, right? It's going to start to break out. If not next week, then potentially today or tomorrow, Saturday or Sunday. But I would think sometime next week. If not, what this could imply is it could be a whole nother week until we see this thing break out. And it could literally be within a couple days before Christmas itself, before the burn itself actually takes place. And maybe on the burn date, we will see such immense, massive growth that we'll go to the targets that we're supposed to go. But, I just wanted to point this out first. I wanted to point this out first because I just feel like, I don't know, it's worth mentioning. We did it twice before. Could we do it a third time? I think we could. We don't have to. We could absolutely move up all the way up here as we did here, without bouncing off of the 50 twice. Okay, so, arguably, too, we went the lowest, I think. We went the lowest out of all of these while maintaining the highest low out of all of these. Maybe we are overdue for some upside. I don't know. On the daily, also another thing to mention, on the Heikin Ashi here, whenever we were on our double bottom on the 50, okay, you can't really see it as well here versus the regulars here. I'll put some vertical lines here. Okay, here was our higher low, right below the 50. Here was our higher low here, breaking out of the 50. If we put it on the Heikin Ashi, you can see that we were red for our third time here. We were red for our third time here, and then we flipped green and we continued to go higher. We were red for our second time here, and then we flipped green and we continued to go higher. Well, we've been red for our second time already, and we are now flipping green today and potentially going higher, so long as we don't take out like the lows of today. Because the Heikin Ashi, the way it works, the Heikin Ashi, however you want to pronounce it, I call it Heikin Ashi. I'm sure that that's not how you are supposed to properly pronounce it, but I don't know, so I'm calling it Heikin Ashi because I speak English and I live in America. So anyways, but I would be happy to call it however it's properly pronounced. I just don't know. Anyways, it's the average. The way that this is measured is it's the average. It takes the previous day and the current day. It takes the lows, the highs, and it averages them out. If you can see, the price here is 602895. If we go here, it's actually 603099. They're different prices, and the reason for that is this really only moves, and it does take the current price into consideration, but it really only moves when you get new highs or new lows on the day. That's what, because it's the average of all those, that's what kind of drives the price more. So the current price, as long as it's in between these highs and lows of the day, it will affect this a little bit, but to flip this back red, what I'm trying to say, to prevent it from being green, we would essentially have to come all the way back down, probably like very neutral, not even like more neutral than yesterday, and maybe even close the day red, if we wanted this to be a red Heikin Ashi candle, which we don't. We don't want it to be red because, again, this could be the key in invalidating the idea that we need to go back to the 50 a second time. Okay, it could be the key to that. Okay, so that's the good news, right? Now the really good news, the really crazy moon boy bullish stuff. I don't know why I said the bullish stuff that could be happening is if we take this here. I was playing around with the fibs and I was just noticing this. Maybe I pointed it out in a previous video, but we take the top here to the bottom of this consolidation phase. We went up on the next move up. We went to the 1618. Okay, we went to the 1618. The minimum of this 1618 from top to bottom here would be at 5010, right? 50 So adding more to the validity that we will, or more to the likelihood of the scenario, the outcome, that's where I'm looking for, that we will see 5 zeros. Okay, 1618 there, that was the minimum hit there. If we take this next one, top to bottom, you can see that we actually broke through the 3618. And the 3618, what's interesting about that is from this top to bottom, we actually tipped this 3618 pretty perfectly. We actually hit that. So it opened up an idea that maybe we see this thing's 3618. And that would take us all the way up to 5075. I know that there's some people out there right now who are like, hell yeah, this is what I'm talking about, right? Myself included. I want to pump the brakes a little bit and say I don't expect this to happen. I don't expect this to happen by the burn, though it could. I don't expect this to happen even before the Bitcoin halving, though it could. It absolutely could. But again, speaking previously to this phase of consolidation, top to bottom, where the extension took us, top to bottom, where this extension took us, it took us to the 3618, right? And arguably, you could say, well, that's null and void for this one because really we stopped, we consolidated again after the 1618. Okay, well maybe by the burn, we go to the 1618, we consolidate, and then before the halving, we still make our way up to the 3618. As you know, overall, we went to the 3618 here. You know, it's completely possible. But I dietest. Was there something else I wanted to add? Oh yeah. So what's interesting about this level up here, and I did the math already. I actually tried making a video, but my daughter cried. I had to go put her down. She was asleep, and I was going to be right back, but man, she didn't go to sleep for a little bit, so I had to restart the video. But I did the math. Okay, I did the math. I'll go over what this means. Refresh it here. The market cap right now is 48 million. Okay, whenever I did the math, it was closer to 49 million. It was over 48 and a half, so I rounded up to 49. But tomato, whatever. We can change this to 48. Let's change it to 48. 48 for 48 million. Okay, times what would be a potential 24x. Okay, let's do 24.22. We'll round. We'll do 24. Okay, 24x. 48 times 24 would equal 1,152. In other words, if this is millions that we're talking about, 1,000 in the perspective of a million would be $1 billion. So this would be $1.15 billion in market cap valuation. Okay, and why that makes sense is because that is a very significant mile marker to make. Okay, it's a very, very significant mile marker to make. It could be just as price, like seeing tens, even numbers, rounded numbers on a price scale creates psychological resistance or support, so does market cap valuations. And this just happens to be right at the 3618 in itself. So all that being said, whether or not we see this by the burn, which I personally don't think we do, whether or not we see it by the halving, which again I still personally don't think we do, but I do think that we're going to see it at some point. I think that this being on a significant top to bottom consolidation phase right here, being that the 3618 is here right near that $1 billion market cap level, I feel like we will inevitably see prices up this high at 5075 and likely probably even higher than that. But that might be another place that we kind of consolidate around, find resistance around, something like that. Something to be prepared for in the future. But I want to touch back on the idea that, again, the minimum kind of extension that we've seen throughout this whole time was the 1618. And that would take us all the way up to at least 5 zeros. Okay, I really, really do believe that we're going to see that by the burn. I really do think we are. I think this Heikin Ashi flipping green right now is the signal we need, man. I thought it was here, but I was wrong. Whatever, I can be wrong. I can originally back here I was saying that it would be about 2 weeks, 12 days or something like that. 2 weeks. I think I said 12 days to 2 weeks that we'd be consolidating, and we're basically at 2 weeks right now. So I changed my opinion. If I stayed with it, I would have been right. But who cares if you're right or wrong, man? As long as you're holding the bag that goes up, you're doing all right, right? So it's not about being right or wrong, man. It's about risk management. What am I? I'm getting carried away here. I'm getting. I was gonna do something. Oh yeah, right. Okay. So top here to bottom, you've got your 2272 extension. Basically exactly where that 3618 was as well, from top to bottom here. Or is it? I thought, hold on now. Am I measuring from the wrong? Oh no, I'm sorry. It wasn't this 3618. This 3618 is where we topped. That's where we topped before. Sorry. This top to this bottom here, the 3618 is all the way up at the 2272 of this overall more macro fib extension. So all that being said, taking that into consideration, taking this more grand fib into consideration, We found resistance at the 1414, the 1272. With the way that it looks right now, if we can close this week above this 1272, I think that that would be the signal that we need for this thing to go all the way up to its 1618, right? We already found resistance at the 1414, short of a double top taking place. I would think that the next logical area would be up here at the 1618, which again is at that 5-0 marker. We could go a little bit above it. It's a low cap coin, so seeing prices go a little bit above it, a little bit below it, it's to be expected. It doesn't have to be precise, right? But generally speaking, with this kind of maneuver where you find resistance in this area, which I do think we will, because it's not just this golden extension, it's also this golden extension here. What's a common maneuver here is to go at least back to the 1272, 1414 area, but more commonly than not, you actually go to your 886, 100 level, and more specifically this 886 level. I know I've shown it enough times on this channel to kind of validate that, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, just watch more of my videos, man. You'll see that this exact scenario plays out where you find resistance in this area, you pull back to the 886 specifically, and then you continue to deeper extensions, okay? And that's what the very key point is. And this is why, again, I will be selling on the burn date, because I do believe something like this is going to happen. And I know that that sounds crazy because this is so much lower than where we are now, and it's going to be so much lower than we are up here. But the 886, again, moving from this expected range down to the 886, it's a very common maneuver. It happens a lot. And then beyond that, you've got your weekly high closes here from your previous all-time high. Finding support in that area, it all makes sense to me, at least. You know, previous area of resistance before we broke out, previous area of resistance here on our all-time highs before we turned down. To me, it all makes sense. And then beyond that, you've got your extensions. Classic behavior would be this exact kind of move. And then likely what you would do is you wouldn't stop at your 1886 or your 1786, but you could. That would be like the minimum kind of expectation. But likely where you would go would probably be to the twos. You could go to 2272 or the 2618, somewhere in this area, right? This next zone kind of becomes like this zone, right? But being that this 2272 area is the 3618 of this top to bottom here, being that it is around the $1 billion level and it's the 2272 itself, I kind of would expect that you will find resistance up here at some point. Now, will that be before the halving? Will that be after the halving? I don't know exactly. I would think it'd be after the halving. Just the way that I've drawn this here, it's not at all what I expect it to look like, though maybe it looks exactly like this. If we were to move down in a pretty fast pace down, that would be around the halving that we find this low. Maybe we consolidate, and then after the halving we get ready to pump up. Literally in the second half of the year would we be up this high. So, you know, pretty good stuff. There's a lot of things pointing to this level specifically for higher prices, so I do think inevitably we will see this price. I just think it's too much of an increase right now from the current price to see a 24x by the halving. Now, I know there's a lot of you out there that don't think that that's too high of a price to see by the halving, and I love to, in scenarios like this, refer back to Dogecoin, right? Dogecoin, last cycle, I know I've talked about this several times, but Dogecoin was worth $1 billion, just below $1 billion in its market cap, whenever it made this move here, whenever it did. Actually, I think I need to be on this daily. Come on now. And it says 1 day here, 2 days here, but this actually happened in the second half of the day, and this one happened in the first half of the day. Literally within a 24-hour period, it did a growth that was overall from low to high, I guess of this day, actually, not the actual low. That was a 14x. That's a 14x in a 24-hour period. Could Jesus Coin see a 23x, and again 24x, or I'm sorry, a 14x at a $1 billion market cap? Dogecoin was at $1 billion right here, just below $1 billion. Could Jesus Coin see a 24x being only at 48 million? Maybe. You know, maybe it could. This is crypto. Crazy things do happen, but I do like to stay grounded. And the best part about my strategy with this thing is that I don't have a price to sell it at, right? I have an idea of the price to sell it at, but really what I have is a time frame. So if by the burn we are in fact all the way up at this 5075 level, then cool, I'm going to sell it there on the burn date. If we're all the way around where I would expect, which is around that 501 level, maybe a little bit above there, and it's the burn date, cool, I'm going to sell there. You know, I really don't care. I mean, obviously I'd like it to be higher than lower, but I really don't care what the price is doing. I'm just kind of focusing on this news-driven event, you know. And I know there's a lot of news coming out. There's discussions in the mix. I saw that tweet about Maker Lee talking about like there's what was it, man? It was like community development, but there was also like he himself was saying that there's talks about multiple exchanges listing Jesus Coin. And right now that's just rumors, right? You buy the hype, you sell the news, buy the rumor, sell the news. So when those exchange listings do come out, we'll probably see a sell-off as well. But I would bet, guys, I would bet right now, throughout this little phase here, there are exchanges buying this token. I would bet there are. If they haven't already, then they're going to be FOMOing, which exchanges don't FOMO, but I would be surprised if there's exchanges thinking about listing this thing that are not buying it at currently a 46% discount, or didn't buy it whenever it was at a 62% discount, or on average kind of like a 50% discount. You know, I'd be surprised. So especially when you have a news-driven event like this, especially whenever it's such a low cap coin, like, I don't know. Anyways, I've talked a lot. I've talked enough. I hope I went over all the right things. I just wanted to give an even more bullish prediction out there that we could see some crazy price movement, maybe by the burn, maybe by the halving. I personally don't think we will. I am personally expecting the 501 level, but I don't care what happens because I'm not selling the price, I'm selling the news. So until then, I'm just patient. It's just a show to watch, and as of right now, we're up 14%, so the more I talk, the more it goes down, so I'm going to end it there. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up, hit that like button, subscribe if you'd like to see more content, and I will see you guys on the next one. Have a good day. Bye-bye.